Takes the shotgun snap, the throw, dumps it to Etienne out in the flat, catches it, crosses the 50 into Ohio State territory across the 40.
With the first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Clemson. With the 25th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Travis Etienne, running back, Clemson.
A new era in Jacksonville begins.
That new era started in Cleveland, Ohio, site of the 2021 NFL Draft on the shores of Lake Erie, and those draft picks will soon arrive in Jacksonville, Florida at TIAA Bank Field. The 2021 draft class is complete. And welcome into the Jaguars Draft Recap presented by Dreamfinders Homes. JP Shadrick, we have full team coverage as we've had throughout the weekend. Brian Sexton, John Ozer alongside. We'll get to those two coming up in just a moment. But first, the draft has just ended. Let's get started with head coach Urban Meyer with Ashlyn Sullivan right after the draft completed.
First one, great. You know, I want to thank Trent Baalke, our GM, our staff. I mean, this was kind of a sprint to the finish, and I'm pleased with the group we brought in. But I thought we started in January. It's called end of season, and end of season is evaluate your current roster, and then write down your needs. And we put a lot of, I don't say pressure, but a lot of work into it with our offense, defense coordinator. Make sure we hit these. For the most part, we did.
It seems like whenever ESPN or NFL Network brought up the war room, the Shad, it was you, Trent Baalke, and Shad Khan having a conversation. Like this, more so than ever, seemed very in unison this week.
That's the only way I'll do it. You know, I don't believe in the separation. You know, I don't believe. I've heard horror stories. You know, I've had a lot of friends get in the coaching profession, and it's almost us versus them. That will never happen here. That can't happen. And Mr. Khan and Trent Baalke agree. This is a collaboration. This is a team. We're all in this together. We win together, we lose together, and there'll be never anything other than that here.
You'll hear more from Urban Meyer in the coming weeks on The Hunt. How about overall, Brian, the draft class as a whole? It starts, of course, with the quarterback.
A+ there. The franchise has waited for this guy for 27 years, and he almost stands alone. Beyond that, what I really liked and appreciated was the big picture approach. When you have the franchise quarterback and you're just getting started, as they are, you don't fall into the what do we need mode, which is why they took a cornerback to start day 2. Walker Little is another great example of a guy who doesn't have to factor in this year. The Chiefs, pick a team. The Colts, they're all having to think about how do we get better right here, right now to compete for a title. It's not the way it is right now, and I was really impressed with the way that they stayed big picture, all the way through, even to Jordan Smith, the pass rusher, and Jalen Camp, the receiver who, JP, they talked about being guys who aren't ready. They were very clear. They're not ready to play. Good. You found guys to develop, because this isn't about this year. With that kid quarterback here, John, this is about many years.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating. After the draft, Trent Baalke said they stuck to their board. Every guy was the top-rated guy on the board. Yeah, okay. Every guy was ranked very highly in their needs. But to his point, they liked the guys they got where they got them. And I think even more importantly, every one of these guys that you talk to on conference calls, when you listen to them talk about them, meaning Meyer and Baalke, they feel like culture fits. They feel like guys that this franchise knows that they want to build around. That's been very important. They talked about it during free agency. They talked about it leading to the draft. As much as anything right now, they are still trying to make sure that all players in that locker room understand the kind of player that they want and you have to be. Feels like they got 9 guys this weekend who fit that moving forward.
The first of those 9 guys they got is quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and to be undefeated in the regular season in high school and in college, you better be pretty darn competitive.
I think anyone that's a true competitor kind of thrives off of that and loves it. That's when it's fun, when it's, I guess that last moment, whatever, it all comes down to one point. It's kind of like that's what you play for. So I've always loved that. Ever since I've played, it's always been fun. I always love to compete.
It's the pick that Jags owner Shad Khan wanted from the start of this offseason. It's the pick that could also start the change of the fortunes of the Jaguars franchise, John.
Well, there's so much on the field about this guy to love, all the intangibles you love, and we're going to have weeks and months and years to talk about that. What struck me, I forget when it was, maybe Friday or Saturday, I looked at Trevor Lawrence, and there was a picture of him on the screen. They were talking about, him, and I thought to myself, this might be not only the biggest star ever in this town, but he might be the biggest star coming into the league since Peyton Manning in 1998. Andrew Luck wasn't quite the level of star. He was a lock as a quarterback, but the identity and the mega star nature of this kid, I know this is a football show, we're talking X's and O's, but think about that. The Jacksonville Jaguars may have the biggest star to enter the league in nearly 2.5 decades. For that reason alone, he's a franchise changer. Now he's got to play.
I heard his high school broadcaster, who's also the mayor of Cartersville, Matt Santini, who talked the other day about how they knew when he was in 7th and 8th grade that he was the future of Cartersville High, which is a very good program in Georgia. So he was highly anticipated in middle school for what he would do. John, I totally agree with you. This guy's Peyton Manning on the field and off of it. And by the way, to use the Tebow name, which has been bandied about, the person that he is representative of the person that Tim Tebow has been for his career as well. Strong in his faith, family, and a down-to-earth guy. So he has fit Jacksonville like a glove for the last year. Just to look at him and to think about what he means to this franchise. Think about what he means to the city, the energy that he creates, JP.
Yep.
Maybe that's the energy that gets people together on some of the building projects downtown that sparks a lot of growth. It happened in Indiana, in Indianapolis in 1998. Peyton arrived after a horrible 1997 season. They were a franchise that people wondered about. Were they going to go to L.A.? Now look at them today with that stadium. They are a bedrock franchise. I think that's what Trevor Lawrence represents here, the chance to cement this franchise in this city together forever.
The Jaguars later in the first round picked up a teammate of Trevor Lawrence's at Clemson at number 25 overall, Travis Etienne, the running back, the all-time leading rusher in the ACC. So you knew he was good the first few years at Clemson, but he wasn't a complete back until the last year or so. It was a goal of his that in that time frame to become a little more well-rounded.
It was very important, especially where the position is headed for running backs. You want to be a third every down back, 3 down back, be out there on third down. So you can get the little dump off that turns to 10, 20-yard gains. And now I feel as if my transition, it just really was amazing to have Trev. He's here again, so we kind of just worked on that every day after practice. Got on a judge machine, just really like we have owned it. We owned it. We wanted to be better. So we got in there and just worked after practice, and you see it happening.
Quick learner, right here.
He's paying attention to the press conference, that's for sure. Shad Khan with the best line of the day there. You see on your screen there the career records in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Well, Urban Meyer had some comments about the way Etienne plays and the way that could fit in his offense.
And the way we've always looked at offensive football is that, just over the years, anytime you can find that dual threat guy, the guy can carry the ball and catch the ball. Obviously the name that comes up is Percy so often. I'm not saying he's a Percy, we'll find out, but he's a guy that he's a piece of the puzzle that's kind of hard to cover.
I would say so. Hard to cover. Scored a bunch of touchdowns, Brian, up in Clemson.
Here's the thing that stood out to me when they drafted him. And, John, you and I talked about this when Blaine Gabbert arrived and when Blake Bortles arrived. They needed players who would be where they were supposed to be, guys who did what their jobs were laid out that they could count on. You harped on that continuously as those two young quarterbacks tried to develop. All I could think about when they drafted Etienne was they're giving him someone he can count on early in his career.
Yeah, let's not confuse this. He's a running back almost in name only. You almost have to think of another way to describe this guy. He's not really, I get it's going to be competition between him and James Robinson. but he's a guy who can split out, play wide receiver. Urban Meyer said it after the draft on Saturday. He's more than just a running back.
No doubt. You can line him up all over this offense. A good weapon to have. Let's move along now to day 2. After the work on Thursday, it was on to Friday, where the Jaguars had 3 picks on Friday and plenty of ways they could have gone. But with the opening pick of the second round, 33rd overall, they go with cornerback Tyson Campbell out of Georgia. He was a big-time 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and Campbell reminisced about a visit he had back then with Urban Meyer.
Coach Meyer came to a football camp down in Florida. It was at FIU, and I think him and Saban were there, and I got a chance to meet him and Coach Combs at the time, and we just hit it off from there, and always had a great relationship. Unfortunately, I didn't choose the Ohio State University, but I always knew me and Coach Meyer always got along well, and it all played out perfectly, so I'm excited.
Well, I'm sure Coach Meyer, John, gets along with guys that are 6'1" and can fly and can play the ball and do all the things that Tyson Campbell can do, and it just adds to a cornerback room for the Jaguars that already has some names in it.
Yeah, we said all weekend, there's more to life in the NFL at cornerback than having 2 of them. You need 3, you need 4. Mainly you need 3 because you need a guy who can play the nickel. Since he got drafted, they've talked more and more. He's going to play nickel immediately. They believe he can do a lot of nickel and inside things. He gives them versatility in the back 4 or 5.
He's got great length. I mean, that's what stands out. He's tall and he's long. He played at St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale with Patrick Surtain II, who was also drafted this weekend, coached by Patrick Surtain, the former Miami Dolphin. So this is a guy that knows the game. He understands the nuances of playing. And since he was in high school, he was coached to be an NFL caliber athlete. So I'm excited to see him out on the field.
Campbell, big pickup the first part of day 2. The next 2 picks on day 2 each had some time away from the game recently. The 45th overall selection was tackle Walker Little out of Stanford. He was injured early in 2019, opted out last year due to the pandemic. And then the opening pick of the 3rd round at 65 overall, safety Andre Cisco out of Syracuse had a knee injury early last year. He was the FBS active interception leader when he was injured. 13 picks in 24 games, but the lack of recent tape on both of those prospects made Urban Meyer just a bit uneasy, so they had to really dig through the contact book.
Very hard, and I needed help with that, to be quite honest. We had to do as much intel as we could, but if you look at sheer talent, I think the 2 guys, Walker and Cisco, it's really hard. And, I would have much rather, had those guys in, spend time with them. But the good thing is we have great connections with Cisco, and then we have great connections with Stanford and Walker Little.
John, it continues the theme of Urban Meyer and the staff's connections really being key in a year in a pre-draft process like we haven't really seen.
Well, it really is. And we talked about that a little bit, but they felt like they needed to make sure on guys in a time where it was hard to make sure on guys. And that came into the contacts. It came into Meyer knowing a lot of these guys and a lot of the college coaches, his contacts in the college game. I'm not sure how Brian feels. I like both of these picks from everything I've seen in terms of Little's athleticism. Urban Meyer said today something very key, or may have been Balky, I forget. He makes the hard look easy. When he sets in pass protection, it looks easy. Natural feet at that position, playing left tackle, it's hard to teach that. Andre Cisco, the fact that he has 13 interceptions, this kid makes plays on the ball. Urban Meyer said after the press conference, or after Saturday's picks, his favorite player on the board. This guy feels like a playmaker, and I think they think he can come in and play right away and make impact right away.
What I really liked was and I'll go back to it, the big picture approach. Cisco's coming off a knee. If he's not ready to go, no problem. Walker Little hasn't played in 2 years. No problem. He's been working out, getting ready. It might take him a little time to get back into the rhythm of the game and the speed of the game. No problem. Because they're not looking at these guys as saying, you have to be ready to go on opening day. They're saying, you're going to be here over the long haul. Let's get these guys ready to play. And by the way, For people who didn't know much about Walker Little, and I get it, he played on the West Coast when he did play. He's the Trevor Lawrence of offensive tackles in terms of he was the number one offensive tackle prospect coming out of high school. This was a guy who was highly sought after. He has all the measurables. He's long, he's tall, he's powerful. Prototypical left tackle right there. John, you just look at him on tape and you see a guy that looks like he was made to play the position.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just have a gut feeling about this guy. I think he's going to be a natural. I don't know if he's going to push Cam Robinson this year, but he feels like he's got so much upside. He feels like he's going to be fine. Let's clarify something on the opt-out situation with a couple of these guys.
Yes.
Pac-12, the season was canceled, remember. This was not a case where these guys said, I don't want to play football because of COVID, which is a perfectly legitimate reason. But their season was canceled for a long time and then got brought back. They got on another path in terms of prepping for the draft and didn't want to break that. So I'm not sure that you can look at these guys necessarily and penalize them, even in your mind, for not playing this year. I think you have to throw that out and remember that this was a very unusual college football season. I think Walker and the guy we're going to talk about next are going to be fine on that front, and I'm not sure that really hurts them in the Jaguars' eyes.
Let's hear from Walker Little. Ashlyn Sullivan caught up with every one of the draft picks one-on-one after they were selected and had a conversation about the time Walker Little was away from football.
I'm so excited just to one, be able to get out there and just start playing again. I mean, it's been a little bit, and like I said, I was telling some of the media earlier, and this is the game I love, and the game I've been playing since I was a little kid. This is the longest I've gone without doing it. So I'm antsy to get back out there. I'm antsy to start competing and just get out there, learning the offense and playing football again.
So Little and Cisco wrapped up day 2. So we move along to Saturday, day 3 of the NFL draft. The Jaguars entered with 5 picks, but traitor Trent Baalke showed his face for the first time. They made a deal and flopped picks a little later in the 4th round to pick up an edge defender. But earlier in the 4th round, Jay Tufele, the Southern Cal defensive tackle, who was recruited by Urban Meyer when he went to college, and then they traded up to get the 121st overall pick, and the edge defender Jordan Smith out of Alabama Birmingham started at Florida, had some off-field issues, went to UAB to finish out his career. In the 5th round, they go to Ohio State and get tight end Luke Farrell. He played for Urban Meyer there. They know the family very well. And in the 6th round, 209th overall, the final pick for the Jaguars, wide receiver Jalen Camp out of Georgia Tech, and he flashed in the pro day. 34-inch arms, 30 reps on the bench press, a 39.5-inch vertical jump, and he can run and do all that. How about a quick theme, guys, on the final day of the draft? 4 picks. There was a trade. What did they accomplish today, or on Saturday, Brian?
Well, to me, you can't just throw a blanket over it because Tufele is a guy who can come in and play right away. He's Brandon Williams, who played the nose tackle in the 3-4 for Joe Cullen in Baltimore. This is a disruptive guy. He's got one job, to create a train wreck in the middle of the offensive line. The next 2 picks, Jordan Smith and Jalen Camp, and these are guys that you heard. They're not ready to go this year. I thought it was incredibly transparent of Urban Meyer to lay it out like that. These are guys we're going to develop. And then Luke Farrell is a tight end who's going to come in and have a role, right? I mean, he's not the guy, we finally have the tight end. But he's a good, solid guy. They know what he's capable of. And he'll move the chains.
What do you think, John, about today's picks, especially the final 4?
I agree with Brian. The more you look at the Southern California nose tackle, the more you think this is a guy who is not only going to be a fit, but could have immediate impact. They like Devon Hamilton, they like Malcolm Brown, but having guys who can disrupt in the middle there. 4th round pick, from listening to Baalke and Meyer after this thing wrapped up, I think they were surprised that he was still available, and I don't think it was a very hard decision once they had a chance to look at it on Saturday morning to go ahead and take him. The others, Farrell, they clearly believed that they needed to get a couple of guys in here who could block and really help the running game. Chris Manhertz, the tight end they signed in free agency, is the guy for that. Farrell fits that as well. They think he can do some things receiving, but they clearly believe that the best way to help Trevor Lawrence early is to be able to run the football effectively, run it dynamically. That's why Etienne's here. That's all part of that. Beyond that, I agree. Real foresight and commitment to the long term for this team to go ahead and take Smith and Camp, guys who they don't think are going to come in and be ready to make an impact immediately, but long term.
So they started the draft process with 11 picks. They had a trade earlier in the offseason to get down to 10 picks, and then they made a trade during the draft to get to 9. They come away with 9 players. Trent Baalke has been a busy man the last few weeks. He caught up with Ashwin Sullivan right after the draft.
He did an excellent job. This isn't his first rodeo. He's been around this game a long time. He understands players. The thing that he's done a great job of is understanding value. It's a little bit different when you're looking at things both vertically and horizontally, whereas in college you tend to look at things vertically, meaning positionally. But he did an outstanding job, and it was a very collaborative effort.
I was talking to a few of the draft picks, and they said it kind of came full circle for them because they remember when Coach Meyer was in their living room on their sofa giving them the pitch to come to his school, and now they're playing for him. How much did you guys use that connection? It's kind of unique.
Yeah. Well, we used it a lot. It's a blessing to have that much information on guys going into a draft that normally you don't have. Coach Carroll used it to great success early in his tenure up in Seattle, and I think we did the same here. When you know that much about a young man, it makes it a lot easier to put him on the board and feel very comfortable about where you have him on the board.
There's Trent Baalke, Jaguars general manager. More with him in the coming weeks with Ashwin Sullivan. And there you have it, the entire draft class for 2021 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, from the number 1 pick to the 209th pick. 9 players coming in for the Jags. Quick final thoughts here, Brian, about this draft process, this draft class. Urban Meyer, Trent Baalke together, and the quarterback.
The quarterback speaks for himself. I very impressed. You had a long-term, very successful college coach who had never been at the NFL level, working with a general manager who he had never worked with before, and they had a huge project in front of them. The way they went about this, both in free agency and now the draft, with the big picture approach, I couldn't be more impressed with what I've seen from Urban Meyer. And as excited as I am to watch Trevor Lawrence become this franchise quarterback, I'm really excited about Urban Meyer and the way that he's gone about it. He has swung me to believe that he was absolutely the only guy who could pull this off.
John Oehser, bring us home.
Well, Brian talked about Urban Meyer in the process, and he's exactly right. So I'm not going to waste time with that. Too often in these draft wrap-ups, you concentrate on Saturday because it's the last thing you're thinking about, and you sort of forget what happened. I don't want to forget what happened early in this draft. In the long term, Trevor Lawrence defines this, as Brian has talked about throughout the show. He defines it. They have their franchise quarterback. That's the story. A+.
A+ from John Oehser. That's a pretty darn good grade for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That'll do it for this program today, the Jaguars Draft Recap, presented by Dreamfinders Homes. A big thanks to our entire crew throughout the weekend. Jaguars Productions on the audio-visual side. A lot of folks behind the scenes helping get it done this year. The digital side on the graphics department doing fantastic work. So for all those involved, for Ashwin Sullivan, Brian Sexton, John Oehser, I'm JP Shadrick. We'll leave you with the best behind-the-scenes access from the 2021 NFL Draft, and thank you for watching the Jaguars Draft Recap, presented by Dreamfinders Homes.
Shock the world.
With the first pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Clemson.
Hello?
Trevor, we're about to make you the first overall pick.
Thank you, Coach. I'm pumped. Let's go.
You know my next question, right?
What you got?
You got a leg workout tomorrow.
Hey, man, I'll get one in while I'm down there.
There we go.
Skip, man. How you doing?
How you doing?
Rivaling me, you and
Trevor,
your
awesome. Oh, thank you, man. Woo. Let's go. Oh, man, this is sweet. It's good to be here, man. What's up?
What do you think about this welcome?
So awesome. Already feels like home. What's up, dude?
Come on over here.
Y'all hop in. Y'all squeeze in. This is awesome. It feels so good.
I know, it's not too hot. I kind of thought it was going to be hotter.
Feels great. He had 2 plays against Ohio State that were pretty special. So
I'm really glad I get to have a former teammate come along with me on this new journey.
The Jacksonville Jaguars select Travis Etienne.
What's up? Dude, congrats, dude. Let's go. Dude, I was not expecting that. Were you? Oh my gosh.
You said yesterday that you were hoping Jacksonville would take you. What was it about Jacksonville that made you feel that way?
Well, I knew Trevor was coming here. You'd be crazy not to want to play with Trevor Lawrence.
Shad, you good with Tyson? Tyson?
My man.
My man, yeah. Been a long time, my man, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, congrats. We're picking you with the 33rd pick of the NFL Draft. Welcome to Jacksonville.
Thank you, Coach. Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
With the 45th pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Walker Little.
Was this a surprise for you to be in Jacksonville?
I was super excited. I felt like I had a pretty good relationship with Coach Warhop, and we were able to discuss a lot of ball. So I feel like I have at least a slight understanding of kind of what to expect coming in.
You went from defending Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne in the ACC, and now you're going to be teammates with them. Have you had a chance? Has that set in yet? Have you thought about that?
It's a blessing. Obviously they have very bright futures, both extremely talented players, 2 of the best players I played in college. So I'm glad I have them on my side.
All right, here we go.
With the 106th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Jay Tufele, defensive tackle, USC.
With him being the head coach here, did you ever kind of look at Jacksonville and think, yeah, what if? I know he kind of knows me.
He's been to my house. He's been in my living room. And that was the first thing that hit my head when he got the job. And I was like, I wonder if he'll come in. And I mean, it was just a what if, but now it's the truth, and it's reality. And I'm so grateful to be reunited with Coach Urban, and I'm ready to do great things.
I honestly feel like this is one of the best draft classes of all the teams. I feel like Urban Meyer has did this continuously in the past, so I feel like it's an honor for me to be a part of something another dynasty that he's about to create.
Hey, Coach.
Farrells, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, you get to wear black and teal and gold. How about that? Welcome to Jacksonville.
Holy. Oh my God.